Welcome to the Awesemo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal EMac coming to you with Terry McBride, one T McBee, as we get ready for Tuesday, September 15th. I say that hesitantly because that means we have about 12 days left of baseball. Terry, how have you been? How was your first NFL show?
It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Outside of the time of it being 11:30 is early in the morning for me, except on a football Sunday because I was already up overnight and everything. So that was just slammed right in the middle of my chaos. But yeah, I really liked it. Did the hosting gig for the first time and thought I did okay with it. Stumbled across a few things, but it was really fun. I enjoyed being able to ask some questions and kind of shape the way the discussion went. And yeah, I thought it was a good show.
It was pretty good. Now we have a full new group of contributors here, especially for NFL. So we've been bringing in a ton of other people. Who were you paired up with?
That was me and Matt Gajewski. That's the second time I butchered his name. Yeah.
Sorry, it's okay. Matt. I did a show with Kyle Dvorak. I think I'm saying that close to being correct. And he was lamenting that he mispronounced Matt's name on his show with Matt earlier today. So you're not alone there.
Matt did an awesome job, though. He carried me, and really, I was just throwing questions at him, and he handled everything. Man, that was made it easy for me. So really appreciated that.
Yeah, I will say we have brought in some serious aces here that know their stuff for NFL. You guys may have seen some of their writing, both here and other places, but I think the majority of them have done a little bit of podcasting here and there, but nothing with quite this platform. But I will say they're the ready for primetime players. I was impressed with the knowledge that we have going across the board here. So you'll definitely want to hit that like and subscribe and the notification bell because we are pumping out some serious content. Now, as I alluded to, we have another dozen days or so here of regular season baseball. We have one more 2-game slate for NBA. That will be on Tuesday, so we will have shows around that. And then we're going to be doing NFL every day of the week, and then there's a couple shows actually the majority of the days. So that's something that you're going to want to do. We turn a lot of these, anything that's not a live before lock generally gets turned into a podcast. You can see that we have broken out, or maybe you can't, we have broken out all of the different sports channels because some people were saying, hey, I'm only saving like 5 episodes of the five most recent episodes, and you guys are putting out 6 or 7 episodes a day. I can't go back and listen to things. I'm constantly having to re-download stuff. So we said, all right, let's kind of separate this. But you can check that out. And then at Awesemo.com, if you look up at the top banners there, you'll see on the right side we have the Awesemo Podcast Network. And you can click on that and you can see all of the different podcasts we have. You can listen there from your computer. Sometimes it's a little better connection. Perhaps not as many ads as YouTube. I'm just throwing that out there. We'd love you to watch YouTube. But, you guys can always check stuff out there. And you can see all of the different places, Spreaker and Podbean and what else? Spotify, iTunes, or whatever they're calling the Apple Store these days, etc. So there are a lot of ways that you can get the content. But we're going to have a lot of that out there. So definitely want to check that out. All right, let's kind of jump in here. It looks like we have a dozen games starting for the main slate. There are a couple early ones. As best I can tell, I say that hesitantly, nobody has a doubleheader.
I believe that to be the case as well. I think all those afternoon games are normal. They just start early in the day. And I believe we've got a full 12 real games in the slate. So I think we're good.
All right. So just quickly talking about the 6 earlier pitchers here. Now, these are 6:40 games, so we know the contests aren't going to be as large. We know that not every site's going to handle it the same, and it's not particularly exciting, especially since it's just 25 minutes away from the main slate. But we have Boston at Miami, so that's Tanner Houck going against Sandy Alcantara. We have Joe Musgrove and Michael Lorenzen. We haven't seen Lorenzen in a while. That's Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. And then Washington at Tampa Bay is Anibal Sanchez and John Curtis. Anything you want to point out on these, or is this just sort of if you're going to play it, maybe a little mixing and matching, nothing really exciting from a pitching standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely go through each one of these guys. My advice for this slate, if you get a 3-gamer with these 3 games on it, if you can find a site that only lets you play bats and lets you get away with not playing any pitchers, play there. there's really not much to choose from between these guys. I would say that probably just based on track record alone, we're probably going to be looking mostly at Annabelle and at Sandy Alcantara on that slate, I think. And that doesn't make me comfortable at all. I don't really like recommending either one of them. Alcantara, 18.9% career strikeout rate, going up against a Red Sox team that's not very good, but since it started 2019, 169 home runs is 20th in baseball, 15th in baseball, 184 ISO, and a 102 WRC plus in the split against righties. Alcantara had one good game since he came back, went 6 innings against Tampa with 8 strikeouts, only gave up 1 run, but kind of got knocked around a little bit since. 50% ground ball guy, so he relies on trying to induce some soft contact, keep the ball on the ground. He could give you a good start. Hauk for the Red Sox on the other side is their 6th overall prospect. He was a first-round pick in 2017. Kind of fired through their system. He's got a decent little arsenal of stuff. He's another sinker slider type guy. Relies on ground balls, around 50% ground balls through the minors. 22 to 23% strikeout, like 10 percentage walk. Mid-90s repertoire. Changeup is a work in progress. He's going to get up against the Marlins. So if he's going to get a real start, which I'm really not sure what his pitch count is going to look like or anything like that, he could put up an okay game. They're 28th in baseball since the start of 2019 with 131 homers against righties. 148 ISO is dead last in the league. But their WRC plus is higher than you'd expect with that, 96. So they've got an okay-ish offense for the active roster. So I don't know. We might be able to get away with something with Hauk. This is just more of a stay-away slate in general for me. I don't love a ton of it. Joe Musgrove is a guy who I kind of believe in the underlying talent, but I don't want to attack this Reds roster with him. They hit a lot of home runs against righties. They hit for a lot of power against righties, and he just hasn't really had much working. Gets very good whiff on his slider, but overall, just not really pitching that well. So only went 4 innings his last time out. I don't know. It's tough, and I don't have it all laid out in front of me for this slate or know what the pricing is, so it's a bit tough to gauge who's going to be where.
Yeah, DK hasn't really posted it. They're doing their single game thing, which just is odd pricing in and of itself. You can kind of play whoever you want because there's always a couple really cheap hitters that afford you to do everything else with your 2 infielders, 2 outfielders, 2 utility, and a single pitcher. Over on FanDuel, it's a little more interesting. We've got and it's so even though it's Alcantara, and that's how other people say it, whose last name, he goes by Alcantara. And I'm not saying the last little bit right, but it's not how we would normally say it. And I've listened to the broadcast a bunch of times because Adam is the only other one that picks up on it. So Josh knows that we try to say it the right way, and Josh just blatantly to tweak us says it the how you would think it would be said. For those of us that are English as a first language. But the interesting thing, now I'm looking for more confirmation. This is on one of the lineup sites that has rolled everything forward. They're just giving the Red Sox a 3.9 implied run total. So I don't know if that's correct or not. That seems wildly low. But if we look at the bottom, the Red Sox lineup now is Verdugo, Devers, Bogarts, JD Martinez, Christian Vasquez, Jackie Bradley, who's perennially their 8 or 9 hitter, and then by the end of the year, he's up towards the middle of the lineup every season, it seems. Yario Munoz, Michael Chavez, and Christian Arroyo. So it's not an exciting lineup. So that's probably going to draw a lot of people to it. On the Anibal Sanchez side, the Rays have a 5.2 implied run total. So that's a little hard. The Washington Nationals have just a 3.9 going against John Curtis. But again, we don't know how long or how far Curtis will go, but the Nationals lineup's looking pretty watered down at this point as well, or ineffective might be a better word. And then Musgrove, as you mentioned, is kind of reasonable. He's staring down a 5 implied run total, and you're absolutely right. Even though the Reds are missing Winker and a few other guys, now that we have Arstead, Aquino, and Nick Senzel's in here, it's just like, man, they just have Tucker Barnhart nonstop power. It's just showing up. They strike out, but they'll hit the ball far, and it's in the Great American Small Park. So, yeah, this is a buyer beware kind of slate.
Sure. I'm surprised that the line is so low for the Nats. I have Curtis going as an opener. That was what I was thinking, and I didn't see who was going to be coming in after him. This is his second time on deck starting the game or opening the game. Last time he went an inning and a third. So, yeah, I really don't know what the distance is going to be on him, what the innings are going to be. So that's a dicey proposition as far as the starter. I'm surprised. I like that Nationals lineup. Are they missing anyone that's significant? It doesn't look like. Eaton, Turner, Soto, Cabrera, Thames, Gomes.
So maybe Eaton was a late scratch. Thames, I think, is still hitting under 200.
Yeah.
And they're really missing Rendon. That's who they're really missing. But he's not there. All right, let's get on to the main slate here. Have a little fun. With this one, we are going with your guy. So it's right off the bat here with the Toronto Blue Jays and New York Yankees. We have Taiwan Walker going, what's this, like his fourth start now for Toronto. He has, gone 88, 81, 92, 106, 98 pitches in his last 5 starts. So we're going to get bang for our buck. Somehow he's managing to have a 2.95 ERA, which is shocking to me. He's managed to stay healthy. The strikeouts are reasonable. I'm not terrified of the Yankees lineup. And then on the other side, it's Dave. I believe it's pronounced Davy Garcia.
Yeah, we can go with Davy. It's probably like Davies.
Davies.
Davi Garcia. Something like that. Davi Garcia. But yeah, we can go with that. So I'll ask my mom. She'll tell me how to correctly pronounce it. Yeah, if we're looking at Walker, I think we can justify it against this Yanks lineup. They are, as you mentioned, diminished. I did see a note that Stanton and Judge are both expected back this week, though. So I don't know that that's going to be tomorrow, but keep an eye out for that. It does both increase the Yankees' upside and the potential for them to hit a bunch of home runs and score a bunch of runs, but it also does increase some of the strikeout upside for Walker if he's going to be striking some guys out. Overall, 21.2% strikeout rate, 7.5 walks for his career, 1-2-3 home run per 9. He only went 4 innings that last time out because he walked 5 guys and just was all over the place. But he was pitching decently well with length before that. He does have a 5.09 xFIP compared to that 2.95 ERA that you mentioned. So under the covers, it's a little bit uglier than it looks like on the surface. He is one of those guys who added a cutter from out when he was pitching out in Seattle. It seems like they just had their entire staff do that out there. And it's been effective for basically all of them. It's been okay for him. Decent whiff on that pitch, and then it sets up good whiff on his four-seamer. But he's really not getting a lot with his splitter, and he kind of lacks like a legit out pitch as far as a breaking ball and off-speed pitch. So a little bit smoke and mirrors-ish, but there are a ton of strikeouts in my Yankees lineup here. They do rank since the start of 2019, since the start of last year against righties. The active roster is 5th with 241 home runs. We know they can go deep. 3rd with the 218 ISO, and they do have a WRC plus 16% above average, but a 23.2 strikeout rate. So there are strikeouts available for him there if he wants to get them. You mentioned my guy on the other side, Davy Garcia, 25.7% strikeout rate, only 2.9% walks so far in his 3 starts. Working on his plaque out, find him in park in my spare time already. I love the kid. He's 6 strikeouts in each of his first 3 starts. Was a mid-30% strikeout rate guy through the minors. 7 shutout innings versus this same team the last time out. Dynamite curveball with 2,700 RPMs of spin on it. It just dies. It's just this sharp pitch that just drops. So got a lot of swing and miss on it. Getting excellent quality contact. It's StatCast. He's 84th percentile in exit velo allowed, 98th in hard hit. Sorry, that's 88th in hard hit. Still very good. 64th percentile in strikeout rate. So kid's just pitching dynamite. The Jays are a little bit of a challenge, but like I said, he shut them out last time over 7. So could do it again. 15th overall since the start of 2019 for this lineup against righties with 190 home runs, 181 ISO, 92 WRC plus. So a little below average producing runs, but a decent amount of power.
All right. Here's the true question for you as a Yankees fan. How many different spots in the batting order has Brett Gardner been in this year?
7.
It's 8. Can you guess which spot he has not appeared in?
Just because it doesn't seem like it would be the answer, I'll say the leadoff spot.
You're correct. How crazy is that? He's batted second twice, third, about a half a dozen times, cleanup once, fifth twice. He's batted sixth 5 times, seventh most. He's usually seventh or ninth, eighth 4 times. The only reason I went and I remembered Baseball Reference had this. I saw him pop up at, I can't remember if it was this. Well, it's just I saw him batting fifth yesterday. And I was like, God, he has been all over the lineup. And I was like, I need to check this out because I think he may have been in every spot. And, sometimes your mind plays tricks on you or whatever. You're like, oh my God, he almost has been in every spot. I haven't seen in an abbreviated season like this. I haven't seen that. Or a short span of time.
Yeah, how many games have they played? 40-something at this point? Yeah. So, I mean, that's crazy that he's hitting that many spots in the lineup in that small a sample. And he's only at 183, 318, 356 as of my last update earlier today. So
yeah, it's not good. He is 30. He's 37 now. That was the other thing that surprised me. In any event, let's get back to our task at hand. We've got 11 more matchups to go here. Rick Porcello is going to be taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. In his last outing, he got knocked around by Baltimore, who, by the way, already has put up a 10 spot against Atlanta in Touquet Toussaint as we are recording this. Porcello, 6.07 ERA on the season. He has just been a whole lot of meh. This will be the third time he has faced the Phillies. He has gone 12 innings against them with 12 strikeouts, 2 walks, 1 home run allowed, 6 earned runs. So adequate for him. On the other side, we have Jake Arrieta. We've been saying less than flattering things about Arrieta, but he's actually pitching better than Porcello at this point. I still did my placeholder lineup, and I've got a ton of Mets in it, with Conforto and JD Davis and Pete Alonso, because I'm just like, yep, lefties and righties can get Arrieta for power. I don't really like either of these guys, but 7,500 for Arrieta, 7,800 for Porcello, and we have Coors Field on the slate. Any merit to either of these guys?
I think you just said it. That would be the justification. But yeah, I mean, on the Arrieta side, if the bar is going to be better than Rick Porcello, that's probably still not a guy that we're really looking for. And I think we can definitely be fine attacking him with some of those Mets bats. Overall, yeah, I think we can probably utilize small shares of both on the 2 pitcher sites. I wouldn't touch either one, I don't think, on any 1 pitcher site. No reason to. Porcello is limiting power a little bit this year. He's only allowed 2 home runs in 43 innings, 19.5% strikeout rate against lefties, 18.5 against righties. So a little bit below average against both. Not much there. 4.47 xFIP to his ugly 6.07 ERA. Throws 42% sinkers, but only gets 38% grounders. Okay whiff on his slider. He's generated 11 of his 36 strikeouts on that pitch. He's only throwing his 4-seamer 10% of the time this year, and he doubled his sinker usage. So that's the mix that's resulting in kind of the meh that we're seeing instead of the terrible. He's limited exit velo a little bit this year, managed to avoid some really hard contact, but overall, not a pitcher I trust. Since the start of 2019, Phillies 21st in baseball with 163 home runs, 180 ISO and a 94 WRC plus, so pretty good at creating runs, generating a little power. So I think we can get to some of those Phillies, but the issue there is going to be you're probably going to be without Rhys Hoskins and JT Realmuto. I don't know if did they get put on the IL? Did you see? They both went for MRIs today and they didn't play. I didn't see what the result was yet.
No, Realmuto is still day to day, and let's see, Hoskins is on the injured list.
Okay.
Torn UCL injury in his left arm.
Ooh, yikes! So he's done for. That might be Tommy John for him, actually.
It potentially could be. Jay Bruce also on the injured list. We knew that. Phil Gonzalon is filling in for them.
Yeah, so we saw what the Phillies did with the lineup today. They elevated Alec Boehm. Didi Gregorius moved up a couple spots. He was cleaning up. So they can still throw plenty of good bats at Rick Porcello here. So I wouldn't worry about that. I would get into some Phillies. Could render them a little bit lower owned. You never know. And there are some decent prices in that lineup. So they'll be a fun one to click around and play with and see what comes together. And then the Mets you mentioned, I think we can definitely stack some Mets. Since the start of 2019, that Mets active roster is seventh with 230 homers against their right-handed pitching, a 189 ISO, 109 WRC plus. Arrieta, okay at limiting power for his career. This year, he's just 17.1% strikeout. That's been trending down the last few years. He's throwing his slider again, 23% of the time. He didn't throw it at all in 2019, but it hasn't really made that much of a difference. Still generates a good amount of soft and medium contact, generates 50% ground balls, but just not the pitcher he was. Throw some bats at him. I don't think we'll regret it.
All right, we got a couple of southpaws here in the next one. Danny Duffy and Matt Boyd. These guys are coming in at 8,000 for Boyd, 7,700 for Duffy. Boyd gets an okay matchup, I guess. He's going to go against a lot of righties here for the Royals. There is some strikeouts hiding among them. The one thing we want to point out with Matt Boyd, and let me make sure I give him proper due and credit, he has allowed 79 home runs since the beginning of the 2018 season. He has officially passed Dylan Bundy, who has 74. I didn't know that anybody would catch Bundy, but Bundy's kept his home runs down this year. Duffy, on the other hand, normally we would say, hey, let's go attack Detroit. Shockingly, they have the fifth best WRC plus this season against lefties, 134. So WRC plus, weighted runs created plus, it's an advanced metric that neutralizes ballpark factors, creating a league-wide scoring efficiency baseline of 100. And then whatever above or below that you are, that's the percent that you create runs more or less efficiently than average. And it, again, tries to neutralize the ballparks and some of the other factors. So they are 36% better than the average team against lefties. I did not see that coming, but there we are on that. I'm not enamored with either of these pitchers.
Yeah, I might be able to get to some Matthew Boyd, which I wasn't really expecting, but he's popping up in my model. So I got to look at it a little bit more and really see what I think, because he's never a pitcher I want to get to. And it's entirely based on that home run downside. 1.71 home run per nine for his career. You mentioned it, what he's done over the last couple of years. This year, 13 home runs allowed in 43 and 2/3 innings. That's a 3.12 home run per nine for his for this year, 3.12 home run per nine to right-handed hitters. 12 of the 13 home runs he's allowed this year have been to righties.
And career multiple home runs in 5 of his 9 starts.
Yeah. So that's really going to hurt you if you roster this guy. So the one thing I would throw out, since the start of 2019, this Royals active roster, only 50 home runs against lefties, and it's 27th in baseball, as is their 164 ISO. But the WRC plus, again, is 92, which is it's 8% below average. But you would expect that to be lower with the bad ISO and the lack of home runs. So they do tend to create some runs. It's a speedy team. When they get on, they can make things happen. So it's an interesting spot. Boyd pitched well, he pitched well over a few starts before this last time out when he got lit up by the Brewers. We know they're kind of good versus lefties. So I don't know. Maybe we scratch that one and we ride I think it was 4 starts in a row that he looked okay before that. Tough call. I want to see what Alex thinks of it. I want to look at him on the top starters tool. This is one I'm going to be really closely evaluating because I do like the price, like I said, and I think we can get there if the projection holds. So definitely lean into what Alex tells you to do with the mill out there. Duffy on the other side, I agree with you. I'm both surprised and intrigued by that Tigers lineup. They're pretty cheap. They've been getting it done against righties. It's a few specific guys, really. Victor Reyes, Jonathan Scope, Heimer Candelario. I butchered that. Willie Castro. Let's just go with the American pronunciations. A little bit of maybe Jorge Bonifacio in there. And then the bottom end of the lineup kind of tails off. But I do like Daz Cameron down there. He's only had a few plate appearances. We mentioned him the other day, son of Mike Cameron. A lot of speed and power combo. So he could be a sneaky guy in that lineup. So I would take a look at him if you're building the Tigers.
All right, our next one, a little bit interesting. So I always like calling out these on the MLB starting or probable pitchers page. This is for Tom Eichelman for Baltimore, who's going against Atlanta. Right now, Baltimore tonight is leading 13-1. They've scored a few more runs since we started the podcast. It says This is hard-hitting analysis. Eshelman will be facing the Braves for the first time in his career. He has been successful against National League teams, going 2-0 in 5 games.
Well, let's give him a Cy Young.
And that has what to do with the price of tea in China? I do not know. But there we are. Good times. So Eshelman has not topped 50 pitches in his last 3 appearances. He's going to go about 2 innings. He's good to go for, I would say, 50 to 60, but this is going against a tough Atlanta team. On the other side, we have Bryce Wilson. He's coming in at 5,500. That's a little bit interesting. He last pitched on the 9th, so they've moved him into the starting rotation. He went 82 pitches. Prior to that, I'm guessing he might have been out of the bullpen or as an opener, but he had a 1-inning outing, and then he was back at the alternate training site since early August. But at 5,500, going against Baltimore and Coors Field on the slate, this is a price play. Outside of that, neither of these guys excite me. And there are exciting pitchers on this slate. It's just going to cost us Coors Field hitters. So I promise we're getting to some good ones here. So we can speed it along if you have nothing on those guys.
Yeah, I don't really have much on those guys. They actually weren't even in the list when I was putting it together. So Bryce Wilson is looks like the 5th prospect overall for the Braves. Decent fastball, brings it around 94. Looks like he's got a fastball, slider, change repertoire. Not a ton to talk about here. Decent little whiff on his change in his curve, but he's barely thrown any of them, so we're not really talking about much there with the StatCast data. Projection-wise, not really getting much popping up, but it is against the Orioles, so like you said, as a price play, I can probably get behind it. In his whopping 6-inning samples, I've got him at an 11.8% strikeout rate and a 17.7% walk rate. That's about all I got on the guy. Eshelman wouldn't really touch him against his Braves lineup. I think we can definitely get into some Braves on that side.
All right, now we've got some interesting stuff here. So we've got Jack Flaherty coming in at 9,400. He is going against Milwaukee, who, let me see, is the 4th worst team this season against righties. They have a 77 WRC plus, so kind of applying what I said there earlier. They're scoring 25% less than the average team. They are striking out 25% of the time, which is basically only behind the Tigers. There's a bunch of teams within 0.2 of them, but they are striking out essentially at one of the highest rates. So Jack Flaherty looks like a good person to go for here. Brett Anderson, he's one of those guys that we want to target, never quite gets blown up. On this season, he has gone, 7 starts, 33 innings. He has a 4.6 ERA. Doesn't strike anybody out. 21 strikeouts in 33 innings, but doesn't really do anything else for us. He is 6,700. I'd rather, Flaherty's going to be one of about 4 pitchers we're going to want to target. Again, it's going to cost us some of the prime hitters. What do you like from either of this dynamic, not so dynamic duo?
Dynamic guy and somebody and his little sidekick here. Yeah, I'm all about Jack Flaherty in this spot. I really think we can weaponize him here. You mentioned the Brewers just really not doing well against righties this year, and he is a premium righty. Gets excellent whiff on his slider against both hands. Dominant quality contact numbers so far this year. 81st percentile exit velo, 92nd percentile hard hit rate. 76th percentile whiff rate, 62nd in strikeout rate, which is actually down for him a little bit, but overall 28.9% strikeout rate for his career. Just an excellent pitcher. 3.59 xFIP over his limited 26 and a third innings. So some of that will probably trend up even on the strikeout rate. Not really his fault. They haven't played as many games as they were supposed to and on as regular a schedule. Brewers, if you extend back to the start of last year, which I wanted to do to just take a look at what's going on with this active roster with these bats against righties, they do trend up. They become the 13th best team with a 185 ISO and right around a league average at 99 WRC plus, so just 1% below average WRC plus. They're 204 home runs. That puts them 13th in baseball, but the dominant portion of that is from last year. They're just not getting it done in the split for whatever reason this year. I can't really put my finger on why. But, yeah, I think Flaherty could really put up a nice start here for us. I've got a great projection on him. I like the price even on both sites. This is a 10,000 something pitcher on DraftKings, probably more, and we're getting him at 94. So I think we can fire away definitely here with Flaherty. Anderson on the other side, you said it. He's not a pitcher I ever really like to get to. 67 maybe is a price play against the Cardinals lineup that doesn't really excite anybody, I guess. But he doesn't really do much. He's in the 7th percentile of hard hit rate, so he gets knocked around when guys make contact. 10th percentile strikeout rate, 3rd percentile in whiff, so nobody misses the ball against him. He doesn't sit anybody down with the strikeouts. There's just not a lot of meat on the bone with him. He needs to induce soft contact and ground balls. That's how he gets by. If he loses one, it's likely to travel over the wall.
All right, our next game, couple pitchers that tough matchup. So we have Minnesota going against the White Sox. Randy Dobneck is 8,400. I want no part of him. He strikes out about every other inning. That's not going to help us out, especially at 8,400. His surface numbers are fine. He lives on ground balls and hoping the ball doesn't go out of the ballpark when he does give up the hard contact in the air. Dane Dunning on the other side, we've seen him have two great outings, one decent, one, hey, let's remember he's a rookie. But he is someone that I think is worthwhile at 7,600. Going against the Twins, not an easy matchup for anybody. They continually have people that are dinged up. So on Monday night, they did not have Eddie Rosario or Miguel Sano in the lineup, and Marwin Gonzalez was a late scratch. We already have still have Mitch Garver on the disabled list. So they're missing a lot of their key hitters, and they are one of the people that the advanced metrics has not really been kind to this year as well. I'm okay with Dunning against the Tigers. I don't know where people are going to land. I love him against the Tigers. Against the Twins, I'm not sure where people are going to land on this one. I think people will end up going to him, but he does have a 4.8 implied run total, so I don't know if people are willing to take that $1,800 discount for him over Flaherty. It becomes a decision on bats, which then becomes, hey, isn't it more fun to move down in buy-ins, play a lot more lineups, especially in baseball, and hope you find that perfect combination that breaks away? The answer for most of us at Awesemo is yes, but that's not the only answer. So we try to look at things from different perspectives here. But what is your assessment of these two youngsters?
Yeah, it would be all about Dunning if I'm going to anybody on DK from this game. I agree. I think 84 with the complete lack of strikeouts from Dobnak is probably too much to pay. He does do well with limiting power. I'll give him that much. He's allowed, I lost him, 0.51 career home run per 9. So he is good at keeping the ball in the yard. Uses a sinker 44% of the time, slider 34% of the time. That's really the two established pitches. He took the curveball completely out of his repertoire this year. He induces 62.5% ground balls this year, so that's what's helping him keep the ball in the yard for sure. 18.3% soft contact, only 33% hard contact. But you hit it. It's the lack of strikeouts. 15.7% strikeout rate for his career. He's got 23 and 42 innings, so it is almost exactly a strikeout every other inning. So there's just nothing here, and that price is too high. At a lower price, if it was in the 6s maybe or the 5s for sure, we could roll him out here. I'm curious, just because FanDuel has him at 69. What is the price on Yahoo? Do you have that handy?
For Dobnak?
Yeah. Just since there's such a disparity on those two sites,
yep.
I'd be curious what they have.
I will say I'm looking up his ISO. It is even lower than who's the guy I always talk about? Keller. He has 0.069 ISO against righties and a 0.089 against lefties. That is like you might as well be hitting his stuff with a pillow. I'm not exaggerating. Nope, I'm not exaggerating. I'm still going to stick with that one. If we look over here, Dobneck's 31. He's in play. You've got Garcia at 30. We haven't talked about Matson Bumgarner yet. He is at 30 as well. Scrolling down, then it's some Coors Field guys and it's just some garbage pitchers. If we go up a little bit, you get Dunning at 33, Boyd at 34. We'll talk about Carrasco, Tony Gonzalon, etc. Flaherty's 47. And then we have the crown jewel of the show, Yu Darvish. Of course, he is going against Cleveland, but he is 59. So there's your pricing. So you can see the pricing's all over the place on Yahoo, which is different than the other sites, which helps you wander on over there and come up with, one, a unique player pool, and two, you can't just lift and shift all of the analysis that everybody else is doing, which gives you an edge if you're able to translate that over to a new site.
Yeah, and that's an interesting price. That $30 tier is, it sounds like a pretty sharp tier that they built there for tomorrow. Dobneck and Dunning right next to each other is interesting as a decision. And getting to him, it sounded like there was nobody, even reasonable or in play. It was much less expensive. So that could potentially put him in play over there. But yeah, it would definitely depend on a lot of other factors, like how the bats are priced and how they all click together. Interesting.
Yeah, just looking at Coors Field over there real quick. Story 25, Olsen 22, Semien 20, La Stella 21, Grossman 20. Mark Conha, 20. Piscotty's dinged up. I'm not sure he's going to play. He's 19. Murphy is 18. Nolan Arenado, only 17. Dealing with the sprained AC. I'm not sure he's going to play either. Pilar, 17. Blackman, 16. So, Manaea, decent pitcher, but, these are not slam dunk prices, but they're ones that sort of make you go, Matt Kemp at 13 feels good against a lefty.
For sure. Yeah, and I mean, Charlie Blackman, I know it's the same-handed matchup, but still, Charlie Blackman for 16 sounds cheap to me. Charlie Blackman's a star as well. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get over there and start clicking around on some of this stuff before the last 2 weeks of this season runs out on me.
All right.
But,
don't forget, you can play a little football over there. They've got the $350,000 baller. They are sponsoring the podcast, by the way, so I do want to point out that they have CSV upload and edit capability here, so that is worthwhile. And we do have Yahoo centric NFL content for free that'll come out on Friday, usually around noon, written by yours truly. So definitely check that out. I was over there on Yahoo, had an okay player pool that I set up in my article, and then just didn't get the right combinations of players. So lost half my buy-ins, but it's okay. The contest I said I would be shocked if it went off at higher than 80% filled. Went off at 79.6% filled. Woohoo. Victory lap for me.
That's a call and a half. I love it.
All right.
Hey, before we move on, real quick, I did kind of breeze over Dunning, and
Go back.
The one thing I would point out, you mentioned the Twins kind of struggling more than we would expect against righties. But if you go back again, it's another team where if you go back to last year, they become first overall in baseball, 272 home runs over the sample, fourth with I lost it. Sorry. Second since 2019 with a 227 ISO and a 117 WRC plus. So the lineup is still good, but like you said, they're a little dinged up. They're probably going to be missing some pieces. So I think we can get to Dunning here. I like his price. I like the upside of the kid. He's pitching pretty well, high-end prospect. So I do think we can get to him. I think you're right about that. Overall, he's only allowed one home run so far in his starts. That was in his first game, too. So he's pitching very well, striking out 25.9% of hitters. Went 6 innings in a shutout. Only 3 strikeouts against the Pirates last time out. They're kind of a terrible team, but he's showing a little bit of length and some capability. So I like the kid. I think we can get away with it against the Twins.
All right, we've got Texas at Houston. Texas is going against Jose Urquidy. We have Kyle Cody on the other side. Cody, not the easiest of matchups. He is 5,900. He's gone 55, 45, 39 pitches, so not a lot of pitch per dollar there. The Rangers, on the other hand, have the second lowest WRC plus this season with their active roster. It's at 73. They're going against Urquidy, who is interesting. However, this will just be his third start this season. He was dealing with COVID-19. Prior to that, he did go 88 pitches in his last outing. He went 6 innings. Nothing exciting, just 1 strikeout, 1 home run allowed, 2 total runs allowed, 3 walks. Through 9 2/3 innings, he has 6 walks, just 3 strikeouts. He's a fly ball pitcher, which is a little bit risky, but this is the Rangers at 6,600. Assuming we get 85 to 90 pitches, which feels okay, I don't hate it. This is going to have to be a hit it where they are kind of performance from the Rangers. But at 6,600, that's going to give us at least one upgrade at a bat, maybe even two in Coors Field. Do you want that risk? Because there's no strikeouts erasing any of his mistakes.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're limited on our strikeout upside. Overall for his career, he's 20.8%. So, I mean, there is some limited strikeout in his arm. And it kind of speaks to the kind of pitcher that he is. He's their 11th ranked prospect overall, but like in looking at him, I can't figure out what makes him good. He doesn't really induce a lot of swing and miss. He just kind of pitches to contact and gets through it and gets away with it. So
he's Jaime Barria with better luck, in my opinion.
But going back to the start of 2019, this Rangers active lineup, you mentioned how their struggles this year, and that continued from last year. It's they're 24th in baseball with 157 home runs, 14th with a 184 ISO, but their WRC plus is 14% below average. So they're just not a good lineup, and they do strike out a fair amount. So, I mean, even a guy who doesn't strike out a lot of hitters could pick up a couple that are just bonus for if he makes it through a good handful of innings, doesn't give up a lot of hits. So getting a pretty decent projection on him. I think we can definitely roll him out. I might be more enthusiastic about it than you are. I might get more into I can build some good lineup with this guy if I put him in there. It's a little less begrudging, I think, than you were looking at him. So, yeah, I think we can make it work. Kyle Cody on the other side, no thanks. Not getting a good projection on him, not really into him. And I believe in this Astros lineup. Since the start of 2019, 11th in baseball, 219 home runs against righties, 212 ISO is 4th in baseball. WRC plus slipped a little below average, but only by 3%, so that's somewhat negligible. Cody's pitched 9 2/3 innings in the show. He has a 27.5% strikeout rate and a 20% walk rate for his short career so far. So only 55 pitches last time out. Okay-ish strikeout and walk rates in the minors, but just not a guy I think we're getting much out of here.
All right, now we got a pair of legitimate aces here. You've got Yu Darvish having one of the best seasons of his career, as well as one of the best thus far this season. 1.77 ERA. He is averaging less than a base runner per inning. He has 72 strikeouts in 56 innings. Phenomenal across the board. It's 11,300 on DraftKings. On the other side, you have Carlos Carrasco, who has gone 101, 97, and 85 pitches in his last three. Has not allowed a home run in any of those. Had 0, 3, and 2 walks. That was something that was starting to get away from him there. The walks were. Looks like he might have that under control. And we've seen the strikeouts at least be stabilized. 6, 7, and 6 in 7, 6, and 6 innings. So about a strikeout per inning. No power given up, and a third of a walk per inning. So he's reasonable at 10,500, even against Chicago. Anything you want to highlight on those two? But they're right now right up there with Flaherty as the trio to target.
Yeah, definitely right up there. I like the price differential between Darvish and Flaherty. That'll probably end up driving more ownership to Flaherty, and it might leave Darvish a little bit under-owned. Definitely something to check out in the top starters tool tomorrow. I expect we'll see Darvish up at the top of the board, and maybe with less ownership on him than his probability of being one of the top 2 starters. So that's a really interesting spot. You hit it right on the head. He's having maybe the best season of his already impressive career. Career strikeout rate, 30.3% at this point, which is excellent. And he's above that this year, 33.6%. Only walking 5.1% of hitters, only giving up a 0.64 home run per 9 this year. That's 4 home runs in his 56 innings. It's just all about the cutter. It's his featured pitch now. Cutter. He throws that like crazy, and it sets up all his other stuff. So he's getting great whiff and great strikeout rate on his slider, his fastball, his curveball. Love the guy. I think he's a great play. Indians, if you go back to the start of last year, like we've been doing with the samples today, 205 home runs, 12th in baseball, 172 ISO, 21st in baseball, 91 WRC plus. So they've been struggling in the split. They've been struggling more in the split and striking out this year. So I think he could have some sneaky upside, even for a guy that we think the world of already. This could be a really good start for him. So I think he could hit that money without too much fanfare, without too much effort. Well, I'm sure it'll be difficult for him. I don't mean not too much effort. Carrasco on the other side, he's back to who he was. The 28th and change percent strikeout rate is right on point with who he's been since like the start of 2017. So I think you're right. I think we can probably utilize him, and he's right up there with the class of this slate, even against these Cubs who, since the start of 19, third in baseball with 258 home runs, 10th with the 192 ISO, but the WRC plus is only 102. So not creating runs all that much more than the average team against in the split against righties. So I think we can get to Carrasco. There are decent amount of strikeouts in that lineup. I think I'll probably roll out some Cubs against him just to get there, especially with the pricing on this lineup. There's a lot of star hitters that I like to get to who are priced down in like the 4,000 range. The whole top of the lineup is pretty cheap tomorrow. Just looking at it, actually, Wilson Contreras is the most expensive Cub tomorrow. So that's interesting. So I'm probably going to roll out some Cub stacks as well, even against a pitcher that I like, who I think is going to do well in a good spot, just to have it, just to get to it cheap.
All right, we are now into Coors Field. We've got Antonio Senzatella going for the Rockies. I'm just trying to find his home splits because they're kind of interesting. There we go. So since the beginning of the 2018 season, he has pitched 126 innings in Coors Field. He has a 1.2 home run per nine, a nearly 52% ground ball rate. He has a 5.3 ERA, but it's a 4.5 xFIP, meaning he's been a little bit unlucky. Oakland is coming in with the 6.4 implied run total. We already know that Matt Chapman's out. We're not sure what's up with Piscotty. That's a pretty high total, considering Senzatella is decent at not getting destroyed while at home.
Yeah,
that's a weird way of saying it, but it's
decent at not getting destroyed.
Yeah.
So about half the time you get completely obliterated.
Yeah.
So, but you're right. I was looking at those same career splits. It's the first thing I pull up with Coors pitchers that are on this Rockies team. And yeah, 4.57 career xFIP at home. So it's right on point with what you were looking at there. Only 15.7% strikeout rate at home, 7.7% walk. Not much better on the road. He's a 15% strikeout guy for his career. So it's all about the ground balls with him. Right around 50% ground balls for his career. Try and keep it on the ground. Try and induce soft contact. He's given up a fair amount of hard contact this year, 26th percentile in hard hit rate, 30th percentile in exit velocity, and we mentioned the strikeouts, just 10th percentile in strikeout rate. So he's a tough ask, but the A's lineup is really, really limited now, like you said. Chapman's not in there. We don't know about Piscotty. I do like Marcus Semien. I do like Tommy La Stella. Big fan of Matt Olson. So maybe we're using Matt Olson a little bit as a one-off or like in small stacks with a couple of the quality guys here and not going completely wild with the rest of the lineup and building a ton of stacks with the A's. I think that would pretty much be the take. Like I don't really see the need to get to a Vimal Machin. Don't really even know how to say his name, but I don't really see the need to get to him regardless of the 3,000 price there. So I think maybe it's about just utilizing those top end A's bats if we're getting to those stacks. And then on the Rockies side of things, Manaea is a pitcher I like in general, but he's not a huge upside guy. So I don't think we roll him at Coors Field at all. I really couldn't justify that. And I think we can get to some of those Rockies bats. Against lefties, fifth in baseball since the start of 2019 with 92 home runs. It's a game at Coors. They've got a 186 ISO in the split since the start of last year. 92 WRC plus is 8% below average. So they slip a little bit in the runs creation department, but they show a good amount of power. And again, Coors game, big park, the way it plays and everything. I think they can knock Manaea around here a little bit. He's not popping for me in projections. So I think we can get to some of those Rockies bats. They're priced up so that I think maybe we get to that Story Blackman Arenado space without a ton of ownership. It might not trend toward that Corsi kind of ownership on those three. So the rest of the hitters are cheap and will probably be pretty popular.
All right, 3 to go here. Tony Gonzalon and Zach Davies. Difficult matchup against their respective teams. Does anything stand out for either of these guys for you? Davies at 9,600, Gonzalon at 8,700 on DK. That's kind of pricey. San Diego 4 implied run total, Dodgers 4.6.
Yeah, two tough lineups and two pitchers that I don't really trust. I know Davies is striking out more guys this year. He's got a 4.31 xFIP. He's got a great 0.96 whip. He's working with his changeup a lot more. That was what we identified the last time out. He's getting good whiff with it, and it's been good for him. I just don't think it's real. It's Zach Davies, not against this Dodgers lineup. I just maybe it is real. Maybe he's really figured out how to pitch at this point in his life, but I don't trust it. Going back to last year, Dodgers second with 270 home runs, first with a 239 ISO, 124 WRC plus, 24% better at creating runs than the average team in the split. I don't see it for Davies. I think we can roll out Dodgers pretty heavily here and go against him. Gonzalon, similar story on the other side. Not much to really talk about with him. So I think we can definitely get to some Padres bats as well. And you've got some discounts in both lineups. And you've got some guys that play multiple positions in the Dodgers side of things. So I like getting to that Dodgers lineup and doing interesting things with it. As far as what you can do with Bellinger, with Muncy, with Taylor. Well, some of the other guys, they're not in my projected lineup here. So there are multiple guys with position eligibility that you can flex around in that lineup. Less so with the Padres, but just a ton of quality and not crazy price.
All right, 2 to go. Tyler Anderson, 7,300 going against the Mariners, who have a 3.9 implied run total and are one of the worst teams in the league going against lefties. LJ Newsome on the other side, 4.7 implied run total there for San Francisco. I do not mind San Francisco in this one. Not really a fan of LJ Newsome. Let's see what he's allowed. He's just allowed 2 home runs, but he's only pitched, 8.1 innings. So nothing really exciting for him. Anderson on the other side, 7,300. 100 pitches in his last outing. 69 the one before that. 88, 103, 83, 80, 66. And then he was working his way up because we're back to July. I think he is probably going to be my third favorite pitcher behind Darvish and Dunning. And Flaherty, fourth, I guess. All right.
Interesting. I like that. That's with that price. I tell you what, that's not a bad spot for him. So yeah, you might be right there. I think we might be able to get to that. I'm just pulling it up. I've got let's see, against lefties since the start of last year. That Mariners lineup, 178 ISO, 99 WRC plus for the active roster. So not completely inept like we're seeing mostly this year. But I like the spot there. I think you're right. I think you can get a good start from him for the money. He's only 6,300 on FanDuel, but as we've talked about all year long, you don't really need the savings. And I don't know that I trust him enough that I would want him on the one pitcher site. But where we can put him, pair him with one of the big starters and then pay for some bats on DraftKings, I think that works. Don't really want any part of LJ Newsome. You mentioned, the limited upside that he's shown us in the limited 8 innings. I'll go you one better and say that he hasn't walked anybody yet this year in his 8 innings. But, yeah, not much there. I think we can probably get to some of these frisky Giants. The pricing is not completely tragic if your name's not Mike Yastrzemski. So there are some things you can do with that stack against this pitcher that I think we can go with. Be curious to see where they rank out in the top stacks overall, though. It's a lineup that I usually let Alex kind of dictate what is going to happen with him with my crunches these days.
All right, last pair of the night, Matson Bumgarner. He is a bum. His last 4 starts, he has negative 2.6 total DraftKings points. That's all you need to know. On the other side, we have Julio Teheran, who allows power to both sides of the plates, not just lefties. He is, let's see, Johnny Cueto, but worse is my comparison here. Without the herky-jerky movement.
Yeah. Significantly. And at one point in his career, I thought maybe, hey, that's got a guy who's kind of like Johnny Cueto-ish. Like he could become that kind of a pitcher. And then they both kind of trended downward since I thought about that. So, yeah, I think these are two pitchers well past being of use for us or for Major League Baseball teams, unfortunately. Matt Bum's a guy I've really liked his entire career. I was convinced for a long time that he would eventually be a Yankee, and he still might be. He and Matt Harvey are still in my plans for the future Yankees, and we'll reclaim them and we'll bring them back to who they were. But it ain't going to happen by tomorrow. This year, Bumgarner, 13.7% strikeout rate, 8.9% walk rate. and a 3.76 home run per nine. That's 11 home runs in 26 and a third innings this year for Mad Bum. Ouch. He's leading the way with an 83 mile an hour cutter these days. He's at 88 miles an hour on his fastball, which has lost 3 miles an hour since just last year. For a guy with no structural damage or, all his injuries were like freak injuries. He fell off a moped. He got eaten by a shark. I don't know. But it was all weird stuff. And he didn't have like elbow surgery or anything. So that's really concerning, allowing a ton of quality contact. Going back to last year, Angels are 20th with 67 home runs against lefties, 179 ISO, 97 WRC plus. It's not a great lineup, but if you're going to do it, this might be a good spot to do it. And we know who the guys who are going to do anything for you in this lineup really are. It's Ohtani, it's Trout, it's Rendon. Maybe Joe Adell gives you a little sneaky one here. If he's going to do it, this is definitely a good target. So he's got 3 this year and not done much else. Might be home run upside there. Tehran on the other side, as ugly as Bumgarner is, Tehran's chasing him. He's right there. He's a 2.30 home run per nine this year. Not getting any whiff at all. Throws 40% sinkers, only induces 37.6% grounders. Diamondbacks 18th with 180 home runs, 189 ISO, 95 WRC plus, only a 22.1% strikeout rate against righties going back to last year. It's all about the bats on both sides in this one. I don't want any part of either of these pitchers.
So let's put this in perspective. Matt Boyd, since the beginning of 2018, has allowed what did I say? 77. Let's call it 77 home runs. I mean, maybe it's 79. Tehran this year is on pace for 60 if he was to go about 215 innings. Mad Bum just shy of 80.
Oh my God.
So if we're all rubbing our hands together with glee saying, let's go against Matt Boyd, no. We don't need Coors Field. We got these guys.
For sure. Those are 2 big flashing targets. And I tell you what, they might not on a 12-game slate. Yeah, Mike Trout will probably be popular, but the rest of that Angel stack isn't going to be wildly popular, I don't think.
No, they've got on DK they're priced up. They've got a 5.3 implied run total, but you've got Fletcher at 53, Trout at 59, Rendon at 54, Ohtani at 46. Then you get a bunch of averaging down with Justin Upton, Revenge at 33, Joe Adell 28, Anthony Bemboom 37, Andrelton Simmons, he's not cheap, 45. On the other side, oh my goodness, nobody is more than 3,800 on DK for Arizona.
Yeah.
Josh Van Meter, 2,000. Christian Walker, 3,200. Cole Revenge Calhoun, and I'm serious about this one. Play Cole Calhoun, 3,400. Yeah. Wow, all Calhoun does is hit home runs, literally, because he has about a 220 average over the last 2.5 seasons. Eduardo Escobar, 38. David Peralta, who has forgotten how to hit, 3,200. Wow, there's your.
They're gonna. That's not gonna sneak by people. That's gonna get on. Particularly Cole Calhoun. He's going to be 35% owned at that price tomorrow in a good matchup. So
it's like those Mets from 2 weeks ago when the Mets bats were all around those prices in a decent matchup. Yeah.
But yeah. But the other side of that might be sneaky. Going up against Mad Bum, people don't necessarily have that in the front of their brains that Mad Bum's that big a target right now. And those prices are definitely going to keep people off of him. I mean, those are not prices that anybody should be willing to pay for this lineup, except for maybe in this spot. So keep an eye on that one in the top stacks. That's really interesting to me.
All right, gamers, with that one, that's going to do it. We're going to get on out of here. We just about to hit the 1 hour mark, but this is the big full slate. Lot to talk about here. Reminder, we've got wall-to-wall everything on Tuesday, including NBA Live Before Lock. We have the last mathematically possible 2-game slate here. So enjoy that one. And then we've got NFL content. We've got golf getting in on it, and more baseball. So plenty of stuff. Subscribe to the channel. We're pumping out. We're averaging just over 5 hours a day of video content on YouTube.
Not bad. While other sites are like doing less with video and stuff out there in the world, we're cranking out that much content. Not bad.
Not bad at all. All right, gamers. With that, good luck.